Very simple DOEs can actually provide plenty of benefit for your organization. Design experiments does not have to be a huge, massive, complicated thing to solve a massive company problem. They can be used on a very routine, day-to-day basis. And I believe this case study I'm going to share with you is one of those. It was a very simple, it was a medical situation, but it was a very simple weld on some parts. If you know much about welding, there's not a whole lot of things that can go on for a given design, and it had some past history, so we know the weld was capable of being produced. There were some changes that happened, but generally the scheme of things is automated welding should be pretty simple to reproduce. The rest of the parts that go in an assembly, also very easy to produce. Very inexpensive parts as well, so it kind of be slapped together, welded up, and made to go. The problem was that this simple weld and these simple parts, they couldn't find that, I'll call it the recipe to make it work. We set up a pretty simple, very small DOE, ran through the parts, ran through the data collection, ran through the analysis, based on a lot of the standard stuff I've been sharing with you on my on YouTube videos. They're available on my website, just as far as the process setting up and otherwise. When this particular project got to the so-called end of the road, it was a mess. The simple interpretation of the DOE results were that those variables over the range tested really don't matter. And they should have mattered, but they didn't. And so the test was a failure. There's kind of a shrug your shoulders and I guess we can't do this job. It was a subcontract manufacturing situation, so they figured they were going to lose the project because they weren't capable of doing it. However, when I looked at the data, and I don't know how I see it or what I see always exactly, but I'm able to see things in data, or to me there was a surprise going on. Something didn't look right, and I asked them enough questions, and what it ended up being, because it was basically two blunt ends of wire being welded together, that's oversimplistic of what we were doing. I just asked about what was the end quality of those wires before the weld. I just said, for some reason I think there's something going on there. They went back and looked at the raw material, the parts, and they actually found a burr from the cut on those wires. Their whole so-called weld problem had nothing to do with the weld part process or the parts that were being produced. It actually was it had something to do with the parts being produced because of the burr, but it wasn't as they were expecting it to be. It wasn't a recipe thing. It was deburr those parts. It hasn't been happening properly. They reran the same DOE with the same inexpensive parts. They got a very clear-cut, solid answer. They were able to validate it, throw it into production, and it was simple after that. But it's that insight, that experience that we at Perry Solutions can bring to you of taking a very, very simple, this was a very, very simple project. Shouldn't take much time. But when it doesn't go as expected, how can you make the most of that data? How can you get the insights of what's truly going on? We brought that to that organization on that specific project, took what was a giant headache for the organization, made a very small impact to them as far as going forward. It then became a very simple thing once they deburred the parts. If you want to find the surprising facts that are buried in your data, and you need to get your product or your process up to that next level, we can help you do that here at Perry Solutions. Give us a call. We'd love to help you accomplish the same thing.